Okay, so this is another rationalizing denominator one. And you know this, as soon as you see a radical and a fraction, and it's in the denominator, you guys, it doesn't matter about the numerator. It's only the denominator. So I have to multiply the top and the bottom by the denominator. So the denominator is 6x to the third y. So I'm going to multiply the top and the bottom by that number. Okay, so you guys, if there's no number in front of a radical, then it's 1. So I'm going to multiply 2 times 1, which is 2. Then I'm going to put my radical sign. You guys, that symbol, the check mark symbol, is called a radical, okay? We're going to multiply 3 times 6. So what is 3 times 6? It is 18. You always want to put your variables in alphabetical order. There's no x, so I'm going to write x to the third. And then y to the 7th times y to the y is y to the 8th. And it's going to be all over. Since I multiplied the denominators by the exact same thing, they're identical, right? I'm multiplying two identical things. My answer for the denominator will be 6x to the third y. As long as they're identical and they're both underneath the radical, the answer will be what's underneath the radical. Okay. We're not, yes, Lucas?
Yeah, what does it say for?
Okay, we're not done. Okay, because we're going to have to simplify that top. So we have a 2. So I'm just going to write it. You guys, I'm writing it all out because of your notes, and I want to make sure you understand why I did everything. The 2 is just going to stay. I have the square root of 18. I have the square root of x to the third. And I have the square root of y to the 8th. The denominator I don't have to worry about because it's already been taken out of the square root. So the 2 is going to come straight down. I don't have to do anything with the 2. But the square root of 18 I need to do. What are two numbers you can multiply to get 18?
9 and 2.
Two numbers you can multiply to get 9.
3.
You have a pair of 3's. So that goes on the outside, and the square root of 2 goes on the inside. Okay? My index is 2. 3 divided by 2 is not a whole number. So I'm going to break this up to x squared and x. What is 2 divided by 2?
1.
So that's x, and then the square root of x stays. So if you have an odd, remember you guys, if you have an odd exponent on a variable and it doesn't go in evenly to the index, you have to separate it. So if it's an even index, you just bring it down. You just bring, like if it was x to the 5th, you would just make it x to the 4th times x. That's why I did the 3. I just brought it down to x squared. So you just break the variable, you just break the exponent down. Okay, now y to the 8th. 8 divided by 2 is, now my job is to combine all those. 2 times 3 is 6. 6 times x is 6xy to the 4th. And I have 2x left underneath the radical. So again, 2 times 3 times x times y to the 4th. That's how I got out I got here. 2 times 3 was 6, the x, and then the y to the 4. And then I left under the square root is 2 and x. Now, why do you think I drew an arrow?
It's not done.
It's not done. You guys, this right here is an SAT question. If they give you a simplifying one, this is the one they're going to give you because you really need to know how to do everything in one problem. More bang for their buck. Okay, notice the 6 is crossed out, right? I know the square root of 2x is going to stay in the top. I have 1x, I have x to the first in the numerator, I have x to the third in the denominator. How many x's do I have left altogether? 2. Where am I going to put them? In the numerator or the denominator? Because that 2 would be negative. I have y to the fourth and I have y. So where are my y's going to be placed? In the numerator or the denominator? 4 minus 1 is 3. That's a positive 3, so it's going to go into the numerator. And this is my final answer. You guys, that question is a great question because you had to know how to rationalize the denominator. You had to know how to multiply. You had to know your exponent rules. Then you had to know how to simplify, and then you had to know how to reduce your exponents. That's an SAT question. One more question for today. I promise you. Okay? Do you guys remember conjugates? When we did imaginary numbers? You guys are like, no. So to multiply by its conjugate, all we're going to do is we're going to multiply by the square root of 6 minus 2. That's the conjugate. And I gave you a conjugate question last quarter on one of your Wednesday do-nows or 5-minute checks. Okay. This works a little bit different than example 9, but we're still kind of rationalizing the denominator. We're going to distribute. So what is 3 times the square root of 6?
3 times the square root of 6.
Yep. And then what is 3 times negative 2?
Negative 6.
Now, even though they're identical, you guys, it operates a little bit different because now we're using FOIL. We're using that distributive property. So what is the square root of 6 times the square root of 6? You do know that one. What is the square root of 6 times the square root of 6?
6.
It is 6. What is the square root of 6 times negative 2?
Square root of negative 2 times 6.
So, you guys, I'm just distributing. I did the square root of 6 times the square root of 6. Those were identical. That's how I got the 6. Square root of 6 times negative 2 is negative 2 square roots of 6. What is positive 2 times the square root of 6? Positive 2 square roots of 6. And then what is positive 2 times negative 2? Okay. What do you notice? The top is okay. What do we notice about the denominator? These are opposite, right? So we can cancel those out. So then I'm left with 3 square roots of 6 minus 6. What is 6 minus 4?
2.
Now, sometime you're going to have to reduce them. I'm not going to lie. But on this one, they don't have, we could pull out a 3. They don't have really anything in common. So that's going to be our final answer. That is our final answer. What time do we get out here? 10:05? Okay, so first period begged and begged and begged for no homework. I just need you to know they were not rewarded, okay? Even though they begged. You're like, they won on Friday. They did not win today. However, I did come to a compromise, okay? And this was my compromise. 5 questions. That was my compromise. So even though it was no homework, so you're just gonna do this homework on the same page as last night's, and then we'll turn everything in tomorrow, okay? And don't forget that we do have a quiz on Friday. Tomorrow I'll tell you everything. Remember, if you are absent on Friday, Tuesday when you come in, you will have to take the quiz.